And we are live. Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, a deep dive into Vodafone software development lifecycle. Just going to wait sort of 3 to 4 minutes for all the participants to join, and we'll begin shortly. And I can see the numbers going up, 47 participants at the moment, which is great. And we'll just wait for the numbers to go up, but these are incredible numbers. Hi, for anyone just joined, and welcome to today's webinar, a deep dive into Vodafone software development lifecycle. We're going to give it 2 minutes for all the participants to join, and then we'll get into today's webinar. Brilliant. At 83. Fantastic. I can see the numbers going up. Fantastic. Hope everyone's having a great day. For those who have just joined, welcome to today's webinar, a deep dive into Vodafone's software development lifecycle. I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes for all the participants to join, and then we will begin with the presentations. Fantastic. I can see it all populating, which is great. Almost at 100 already, which is fantastic. I'll give it 60 seconds and we'll start. But for anyone who has just joined, welcome to today's webinar, a deep dive into Vodafone's software development lifecycle. I'm just going to wait 30 seconds and then we'll start with the presentations. Fantastic, 102. Give it 30 more seconds so people don't miss out. Oh, seeing it go up a little bit more. Always the awkward silence, and we'll get into it. So, hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, a deep dive into Vodafone's software development lifecycle. I'm going to be the moderator today. My name's Ellis, and I'm a community executive here at HackerJob. Today, we're going to hear from some amazing experts from Vodafone, and today, anyone that's joined are going to gain valuable insight into the full software development lifecycle at Vodafone, from software engineering managers, business chapter leads, and scrum masters as well. And as part of this event, you'll have the opportunity to take part in an exclusive Q&A session and speak directly with the team at Vodafone towards the last 20 to 15 minutes of the event. So just a little housekeeping before we get started. You can all see the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel. Get your questions in there and I will bring them up at the end. So make sure specific questions, if you have questions specifically for speakers, make sure you put their name in the Q&A question, just so I know who to direct the questions at. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's presenters. We have Andrew Polland, Business Chapter Lead, Mankai Rinchin, Software Engineering Manager, Anna Pasparan, Software Engineering Manager, Luke Edwards, Senior Scrum Master, and we also have Bradley Thorpe joining us from the Talent Acquisition team at Vodafone too. But without further ado, I will hand over to Andrew to start with the first presentation. Andrew, over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am Andrew. I'm Business Analyst Chapter Lead at Vodafone. What that means is that I work within the Business Analyst, Digital Analyst Guild within digital engineering, looking after a number of the BAs within that area and taking a bit of a lead on activities within our guild. I've been at Vodafone about 6 years now. I started as a web developer and moved into the business analyst space while I've been here. So yeah, a big part of my role is working with the guild, the Digital Analysis Guild, which you can see here now in the picture. Part of that is organising these team days we have together, where we get together in person, and just number one priority is connecting with each other on those days. So we're really able to gel with each other and break down the silos that might exist between our teams. So we'll know each other well. And then we also do a bit of learning together around various different areas that affects us. And we try and do this in a nice, fun, enjoyable way. So they're really great, great days that we have together. I think everyone enjoys them, finds them beneficial. And we really do look to do anything we can to help connect each other and learn from each other and help keep us all moving forward. If we can go to the next slide. So as part of our guild, we have set out ourselves a guild mission. And this is to reduce cycle time with clear, high quality analysis, which promotes small, simple iterations of value. This is something I'm particularly very keen on, is looking how can we break down work and approach it in small pieces of value that we can deliver to customers quicker. So this is, we're heavily reliant on needing input from the development team for this, understanding what the stakeholders require, but we're in an ideal position where we can help really drive this way of working forward with the teams and ensure we are going for those small pieces of value that we can then build on over time and constantly be looking to produce more and more value. The next thing is actively encouraging reuse, which is something we're all looking to do. We're, across Vodafone, we're looking to really find ways that we can not be building the same thing multiple times, but really working together to find reuse. And as within our analysis community, we can hopefully share what's going on between our different teams and hopefully take advantage of opportunities there. And then creating clear requirements, which the bread and butter essentially of what the business analysts do, but maximizing developer time and reducing opportunities for bugs. So really looking at all the benefit the business analysts can add to our to the requirements that we pass through, to the work, to the way we present the work to the teams, so that they are set up the best possible way to succeed and really understand what we're trying to do. So next slide, please, Sean. So I just want to walk you through what that process looks like for us. So as the Digital Analysis Guild, we come in to the process slightly later than some of the other analysts we have within Vodafone. They work on a project a lot earlier on, helping shape the initial requirements as they come in. So that's during our demand introduced and shaping process. We're loosely involved, a light touch, just as advising how things can be approached, but we're not heavily driving that part forward. And then it comes to epic kickoff, where the proposition has been shaped and it's ready to be introduced to the engineering teams. This is where our part really starts coming into play, where we may help get the session organized to ensure the right people are involved, the right people are hearing what the initial introduction of the piece of work, but also very much we hope to lead questions when needed, to really understand and be sure the team understands what the work is that we've been asked to do. After the epic kickoff has completed, it's very much then in our hands, and we're working really closely with the development team, going through our feature discovery process. And this is where there's a big chance to help find those iterative ways of working. We're ensuring the team understands the work, pulling in the people we need to give advice, whether that's solution architects or UX advice, etc. And then really understanding, right, what is the breakdown of that work? Is there any opportunity to make this first iteration, this first feature smaller, split things out, and really drive, what's the smallest value we can get? And then how do we build on that? Once we have concluded that discussion, figured out the approach we're going to take to this work, and we're happy with it, it's then a case of writing up those features to ensure that we do have it documented clearly what the expectations are, and then those features can be discussed with the team, ensure the team are all happy with it, and that's when we ask the team to do an initial feature level sizing. The sizing we're expecting at that point, it's not going to be 100% accurate. Things can change, but at the level we're at, we're hoping the team can give advise on what the size might be, and that conversation really allows us to ensure the team are all on the same page. If they're coming up with vastly different numbers for the sizing, we know more discussions needed to ensure everyone is clear on the asks. I should probably mention that when we're doing sizing, it's on complexity. We're not looking for how long specifically it's going to take. We're looking for the complexity the team sees it at. A byproduct of that sizing where we ensure alignment is achieved is we can then use that sizing to help us do our PI planning. PI planning program increment, that's where every quarter we come together with the business to plan out the next 3 months of work. This period, the whole team is involved in this, and we agree with the team what we're going to be able to achieve where within the next 3 months or 6 sprints, as it is for us. This can be led by the BA in some teams, but it's we're heavily involved either way, but it varies depending on team makeup exactly how we proceed with that. We will work to our strengths. Once we've completed PI planning and we know what the next sprints are going to look like, then it's a case of ensuring that we are prepped and ready for those sprints to start. And how we do that with the work is starting with 3 amigos, which is doesn't need to be just 3 people, but it's essentially taking a subset of the team to look at the work before it goes to the whole team, so we can really ensure that it's in the best possible state it can be, ensure we've got all the obvious questions answered. This again, it is helping protect the team, helping them succeed. So we're not taking up the whole team's time in one go to just try and figure out actually we're missing some key bit of information that we maybe didn't realize, but the developers identify. Once we're happy that the story is ready to go, that smaller piece of work is ready for the team to work on, we take it to a full refinement session. And that is where we will have the whole team there. And this is a chance where everyone has a chance to have their say, again, ask if there's any missing info. Even though we've gone through that 3 amigos process, doesn't mean that that's it. You don't get the opportunity to change anything. It just means hopefully we're set up for that to be a nice, quick walkthrough of the work, and the team can quickly get to the point where they're happy to, at story level, be sizing the piece of work that we'll be doing. And again, that sizing, number one priority of that is to ensure that the team is aligned. If there's different sizes given, then we know that a little bit of conversation is needed before we proceed. And then finally, once we've done that, it can go into sprint planning, and team can decide to pull it into the sprint. So that's where, while the BA's job isn't necessarily complete over there, that is certainly the bulk of our job done, and we are handing off to the team to take on and hopefully succeed at delivering the projects we're working on. So that's a quick overview of our journey through readiness of work for the teams to work on. I just wanted to mention briefly the difference that I see between product owners and business analysts. And we actually have two flavors of business analysts at Vodafone, where some of us fulfill TPO roles or technical product owner roles as well, where it's on more back-end team, and we're very much dealing with more technical requirements for the team. So product owner very much see as being the visionary. They very much control, well, set out for us the scene. What are we trying to achieve? Where are we heading to? And so they're really setting that vision for us of what we hope to get to. Whereas the business analyst, we're the navigator. We are helping the team identify the way we are going to get to that vision that the product owner has set for us. And so we work very closely together to achieve this. We do have two very different sort of ways forward, ways we're trying to direct the team, ways we're assisting the team in succeeding. And I think that's it for me. That was a very quick run through of business analyst role or digital analyst guild in our process. Oh, and you over.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you everyone for joining the session. My name is Mantka Renching. I'm currently working as software engineering manager at Vodafone. Next slide, please. So DXL in other terms is a backend engineering team. So what do we do in DXL digital experience layer? So we develop the applications using the IntelliJ, mainly the Java-based applications, uses Docker, Azure DevOps, SonarQube for the quality assurance, and the Mend and the security tools for the code security. We uses the Java as the main, Java and the Spring Boot is the main programming language. We uses also, some of the teams uses the .NET Core programming languages. We develop the REST APIs. We ensure the TMF form, which is the design pattern, applies to the open APIs end-to-end lifecycle. We heavily uses the AWS Amazon components for the serverless architecture REST API developments. We use API gateways for exposing our REST endpoints, ECS Fargate, and Lambda functions, step functions, event bridge, Elastic Cache, DynamoDB, SNS, SQS, RDS, and the other components from the AWS based on the requirements and the problem statements we need to implement. To run the applications, we use this LaunchDarkly, and LaunchDarkly basically hosts our feature flags to show and hide the certain project and the features within the code to particular users as well as to go live. PagerDuty we use this for alarming and alerting if any issues or anything needs to be looked at, and we heavily use this as a Datadog for monitoring and tracking, tracing purpose. We also have been partnered with the AWS, so we exclusively get the partner classroom and the virtual trainings for our engineers to develop their skills. We also work closely with the Simply Learning team for the training and certification on the AWS. So below the digital experience layer, we have the typical consolidation layer, or we call them as the TIL layer, which is the data abstraction layer that hides the complexity and simplifies the data layers, which talks to the different business systems, for example, SQL, BRM, or order processing service, and the provisioning systems. Yeah, and next slide, please. So within backend engineering, the DXL team, we have 9 teams which all focus on the certain products. Each team owns the resiliency of the product, making sure the control and the high quality product being delivered. And the team also owns the OKRs, and depending on the individual teams, team creates their specific set of the OKRs beginning of the PI, which Andrew has been explained our life cycle. So through that beginning of the PI, we understands and they define our OKRs and works towards the completing the OKRs. Also, the team and has the full potential or full skills to look into innovating the certain areas of that products and introducing the new tools and the softwares within the team. Next slide, please. So how to ship our code or our products from code base into the production. So firstly, automation acceptance testing engineers, automation engineers and developers are build the application. During the build cycle, we write the unit testing, API testing, code quality being assured by the SonarQube and SonarLit. And also we have the contract tests being implemented. Security testing is also being done at the development level. And once the code has been passed all these tests, and then we move into the integration testing. So integration testing is looked after by the separate testing team called SIT, System Integration Testing, and the PAT performance testing team. So each teams perform the different set of the testing. So for example, PAT team will run the load testing or the soak testing, and the SIT team will run the end-to-end system integration testing. We also have the penetration testing, API testing, and the elite test, which ensures how our products build actually met with our quality in terms of the elites like stability, scalability, usability, and how the code is maintainable and accessible, also the extensibility of the code. And once this test has been complete and passes, it goes into the staging state, and where there we performs the performance testing, load testing, and chaos testing. So any of these stages, if the code is not passing the certain set of the tests, it rolls back automatically and plays to the beginning stage for developers and the automation engineers to do the fixes and redeploying back to the next stage. And after passing the performance, load, soak testing and the chaos testing, the code ships into the production. Our practice to a production does not involve any manual interventions. So our pipelines are automated, and it automatically deploys from the certain stages, development, integration, and staging till the production environment. And once deployed into the production, we ensure they perform the triaging and monitoring. So we use a principle called JLO, journey, error, logs, and observations of any orders being successfully or unsuccessfully purchased after we deployed into the production. And as mentioned, we use the launch darkly for feature flags enabling, and it gives a certain part of the products visible to a certain clients, or the certain environments have the different set of the codes, and such functionalities are handled by the feature flags. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. I will pass to Anna.
Hi everyone, I'm Anna Pashparan, and I'm an GM manager at Vodafone. I'm looking after 2 of the full stack teams, actually mainly web, but we do full stack on JavaScript. And if we go to the next slide, I'm going to talk to you about what we do in web engineering, specifically in Vodafone UK. Here are some of the technologies we are using. You will recognize some of them from what my colleague already presented, like PagerDuty. But on the website, we use JavaScript with TypeScript. We mainly run on React and Node.js on the backend. We use AWS, as also been mentioned, for all our for hosting all our services, and lots of other things that enables us to do our work and make sure our application is running correctly up to production. I've seen some questions right there about testing, so you will spot here some of the technologies we are using for the testing, for the unit test specifically. We mainly communicate through Teams from Microsoft. And yeah, that's like around the technologies. If you get the next one. Yes, thank you. So within the Vodafone UK, we've got over 20 web engineering teams. They are looking after, we kind of split into 4 areas, like our shop areas where you can buy your phones or plans, our e-care, which is mainly everything around my account, our business side. So for those who don't know, we do sell to businesses. So if you haven't seen that, definitely have a look. We've got like different pages that are specifically for our business clients. And also another area which is more across everything. And one of the team I'm looking after, it's actually one that enables the rest of those 20 teams to enable them, offer them a platform to for the content. I'll speak about that in a second. Across all those 20 plus teams, we've got 8 engineers managers, one of whom I am. And all these teams are looking after one website. So you can imagine the madness behind, but it is a big website with lots of complexity. So yes, we need all those teams. Go to the next slide, please. Cool. So the teams I'm looking after, one of them is called Voltron. They are looking after the CMS platform, CMS being content management system. We are using Contentful for our content management system, and this platform and this team integrate with Contentful and enable all our other teams to connect and allows them to connect through simple APIs that are already integrated within our digital design system. So it's all kind of seamless UI across the board using content from one place. We are working really close together with all the stakeholders to understand the business features that will come up and how we can enable that through this platform and make it quicker to release different features, one of which was the iPhone release we just had in September. If you've been on the Vodafone website, probably you've seen a nice experience, no issues, just everything was seamless, and partially was because of all this content being served really quickly through Contentful. The other team I'm looking after is the Voxy website. For those who don't know, Voxy is a sub network from Vodafone. We have our own website for the Voxy website. This team is looking after the whole website, everything that's there. So it's quite a big, well, it's a big amount of work for a team looking after the whole website. But for those who've seen the Voxy website, it's mainly focused on young people and students mainly. We've got lots of offers with lots of data there. So all the kind of all the promotions there are focused on the lots of data. On the Vox website, given that it is a Vodafone own company after all, we are using all the backend services from the Vodafone. So you can see lots of reuse and lots of collaboration between the Voxy team and the rest of the Vodafone teams. And again, my role within both teams actually is working closely with the stakeholders, understanding the business needs, and then bridging that to our development team, helping our development team with understanding those requirements. Next slide, please. So how we work, this is one thing that I'm really proud of. Like, we do lots of pair programming across like most of our teams. it's really important for us to do that, to share the knowledge, but also to help our engineers grow and learn more and quicker. We do this either remotely or in person. So we've got teams across, like we were working with teams across different countries. And for those who are within UK, they will come in the office and do some programming in the office, but we've also got some other hubs where, again, our engineers will come together and work really closely. And we do lots of cross-team collaboration. So I mentioned the platform CMS team. It's enabling different APIs and content for the rest of the teams. So we work really closely with the other teams, understanding the requirements, making sure the platform supports all those requirements, and working together, even doing pair programming cross teams sometimes for different integrations. So again, lots of collaboration. Also, Andrew mentioned that lots of collaboration across like different disciplines to make it work and put all the effort into offer the website the best quality. Go to the next one. And all that work is paying off. These are just two of the awards we won this year. Of course, I selected the ones from my teams, but we did Vodafone win lots of other awards. So please have a look through our LinkedIn profile. You'll see lots of the others we've won this year. As I mentioned, these are the two that my teams won this year, one in July and one just now in November at the beginning. It was actually the first one for the Voxy team, which was amazing. The Voltron team, part of the digital did one other awards, but Voltron also the first one this year. Yeah, that's me. Luke.
Thanks, Anna. Okay, thanks everybody for joining. I'm Luke Edwards, a Senior Scrum Master at Vodafone in Digital Engineering, and I've just gone past 3 years that I've been with the organisation. Next slide, please, Sean. So I'll just start with a brief history of the digital department that the others have talked about. We were established in 2018 as an empowered agile island, sort of kind of an experiment really, isolated from the rest of the traditional IT waterfall landscape. And the mission was to redesign and redevelop the shop website, but also like establish a culture that the others have talked about, this more contemporary culture of software engineering excellence. So what's that, 5 years in, digital has evolved over those years and it's grown so much. So clearly we're doing something right. And now we're known within the organization as digital and IT. So we've kind of taken our place as joint partners with IT in the operation. And a lot of our working practices are starting to bleed to the left and the right in the organization as well. Next slide, please. So there was a question about this. We started our life in 2018 looking at scaled agile framework for enterprise, SAFe, and sort of seeing what, how we could use that to just implement and have a framework that can work with from day one. So that was sort of the model that we followed. But since then, over the years, like I said, we've evolved. We've cut out the bits that don't work and we've kept the bits that do. If a SAFe practitioner or evangelist would come in and look at what we're doing, they'd probably say that's not safe, and we're quite happy with that. We've kind of tailored it to how what works for us, and our focus is more on Scrum really, but like I said, we've retained some of the things from SAFe, particularly PIs, program increments, like Andrew was saying earlier. PI planning for us is a good way of helping us to have that oversight of the end-to-end proposition. It may go across multiple teams, lots of dependencies, that kind of thing. So PIs kind of help us have oversight of that. And then throughout the PIs, we have weekly alignment calls. They're kind of like Scrum of Scrums. My colleagues in the Scrum Master Guild are involved in facilitating that and helping maintain that communication and collaboration through teams. It's worth mentioning as well, not all teams are doing Scrum. Where it's appropriate, some teams do Kanban as well, just like continuous delivery off of a backlog. So it's quite a variety, and I kind of mentioned it earlier on in the Q&A. teams are sort of empowered to to find a way of working that works well for them. There are obviously things that we need to align on across the system, but generally there's that level of autonomy for the teams. Next slide, please. So we've got teams split across our 2 sites. We've obviously got the Newbury headquarters on the top there, and then Speechmark, which was our sort of new hub, digital engineering sort of hub that was created just before the COVID pandemic. So it was sort of opened with fanfare, and then the pandemic hit and people went to working from home. But now it's very busy again, people going back there all the time, and that's in London. So yeah, you can have a team that has people based across those 2 sites, as well as, we might have some partner developers from like our partner agencies who are offshore and nearshore as well. So you can have a cosmopolitan, multicultural team based in different time zones and working remotely, collaborating remotely. So that's all good. There's like nice variety and diversity there. At last count, we've got around 50 teams across. So that's across engineering teams like back end and front end and full stack feature teams that we've heard about today, but also systems engineering, cloud engineering, and teams involved with our catalog and things like that. So there's a lot of variety and a lot of interaction across those teams. Like I said a moment ago, with the alignment and the coordination and the communication across all those teams. It's somewhere where the Scrum Masters really play their part in helping to grease the wheels as those different teams interact. And if we go to the next slide, there are also continuous improvement initiatives that tend to be driven from our area in the Scrum Master fraternity. Some of the things that we've seen over the last couple of years is us driving psychological safety training and just really having a laser focus on that and building up a kind of this idea of empowered accountability across the different teams. And one of the things that's particularly close to my heart at the minute is WIP limits. We're looking at aligning, limiting WIP across our entire system, all those teams that I mentioned. It's a big portfolio of teams and a lot of change. So implementing WIP so that we can get the benefits of those kind of more lean ways of working, and something that we're kind of looking towards as well is maybe reducing or maybe even ideally eliminating dependencies altogether, so that we have a far more independent value streams running across different disciplines and functions within the stack. Again, the Scrum Masters kind of help shape and drive this culture across the department. And that was it for me, Sean. Next slide, please.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Luke, Andrew, Anna, and Mankai for your presentation. So now we'll get into the Q&A portion of the event. Like I said at the start, if you have questions for the team, please get them into the Q&A box now. We can go through them. I can see some questions have already been answered as well already, which is great. But there's just one, Luke, that you actually answered, but I thought it'd be great to answer live as well, just in regards to the sort of general outline and what's included in user stories, requirements, and acceptance criteria. Thought it was quite relevant. Are you able, I know you answered on the Q&A, but are you able to run through that for us live?
Yeah, I can do. And, if any of the other speakers would like to chip in, they're most welcome to. Yeah, I think we try and strike a balance between ensuring that we've got decent data quality and kind of an alignment to the important things. And, we're setting teams up so that teams don't necessarily make the same mistakes as each other. We can kind of learn from each other's successes. And the other side of that is empowering teams, like I said in the answer, to sort of define their own definition of ready and to own that process. So there are certain things that we kind of do want some standardization on, like story points is quite a big thing, but generally what you'll see is teams defining a decent user story statement. So who is the user, who's the customer of this requirement, what do they want and why do they want it, and then if I sort of talk through my team, for example, we'll generally tend to document, important things that it's kind of useful to get it written down so that it's something you can refer back to. But also, it's in a way, it's a little bit of a contract, not too firm and hard and fast for that sort of language, obviously, but just a kind of an agreement of what this is, what we understand we're building. So that's documenting any assumptions. If there are any questions that come up during refinement, answers to those questions, any dependencies, what do we need to make sure, are we blocked until this thing is done, for example. And then we'll go on to actually, the mechanics of what we're building. Some teams will like to specify their implementation steps up front. That's a good way of, as Andrew was saying earlier, kind of aligning everybody to this is the way we're going to build it, and this we've sized it based on this. That's not right for every team. Some teams prefer to just take the problem into sprint and solve the problem in sprint. And then we'll also have acceptance criteria. So that's a good way of capturing any non-functional requirements, but also documenting, the function, what's expected to be in place functionally in order for this work to be accepted and to be closed. And again, that can vary. Some teams might just capture that as like scenario headings for BDDs, like we'll assert that this and this, whereas other teams might go into the detail of actually specifying those given when then scenarios and documenting that in the acceptance criteria. There are other data points as well, but those are the main ones.
Luke, you pretty much covered everything for that, I think, really well. But I'll just add in that it's how we structure the stories and the information we put in. It's something in the analysis guild we're regularly looking at, and we try to give out guidance to all the BAs on how we should be approaching it. And it's very definitely guidance, because each team does work in their own ways. They have their own challenges to work around. They have different things that work for them. Everyone's unique. So while we set out guidance to try and ensure we're covering all the key aspects and we're learning from past mistakes, it's up to each team individually to figure out exactly how they approach it and solve that problem.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Luke and Andrew. So we've got some recruitment related questions now for Bradley. I can see Mankai has answered this a little, but Bradley, you'd probably be able to give a little bit more context on this. Do you provide any job opportunities in Vodafone for new starters in software development, and for those who have not got work experience within software? So for example, like apprenticeships, can you just shed some light on that for us?
Yes, sure. And hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. And like Ellis said, my name is Bradley. I'm the talent acquisition team leader for UK IT and Digital. So we do offer various entry-level positions. So I typically have hired previously people that have been self-taught in code, and we hire them normally at like associate level or junior developer level. We also do have career opportunities for people that would be coming in at that apprentice level. So various apprenticeships. We do partnerships with different universities for people that are completing their degrees and then wanting to offboard into a vacancy. And that's across the board, not just in software engineering, in Andrew's team and in the Scrum team as well. People, sort of move sideways, within the business. So yeah, we do have various opportunities. I will also put a link in the chat to our careers site for everybody to have a look on there around our live vacancies. But we do have a lot coming up in the new year as well. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and we can stay in touch around various opportunities, and feel free to connect to all of the presenters today as well, as they'll be posting some great stuff about what's up and coming.
Fantastic. Thanks, Bradley. And we'll stick with you as well. Are you offering remote work, or is there a preferred location for the tech roles?
So we typically hire out of our hub locations. So for me specifically and my team, typically hiring out of Vodafone, Newbury HQ. And also we have two offices in London. One is the Speech Mark in SE1 and also London Paddington. We are typically hiring on more of a hybrid model. I think it's definitely flexible within different teams. Everybody has different availabilities and sort of requirements to come to the office. But we are trying to be more connected as a team and make it valuable in coming in rather than just coming in for the sake of it. Connecting with your team, like Andrew shared all those great pictures of the teams meeting up in London and Newbury. So really making it valuable and meaningful to come to the office. So more of a hybrid model, if I'm honest, Ellis. So typically quite rare, 100% remote, but more in a hybrid model.
Brilliant. Thanks for clarifying that, Bradley.
No worries.
Anna, we've got one for you here. I can see you answered it live as well, but I wanted to, I just thought it was a relevant question around front-end development, if you don't mind answering it for us. Now, for front-end development, do you have custom components or libraries or systems or teams dedicated to maintaining it as part of your web teams? And what tools, obviously you've touched on the tools you're using in your teams, but what tools do you use in this case?
Yes, so I mentioned in my answer, but just to kind of repeat, is we do have one team that's so they start implementing the actual design system that I mentioned earlier. So practically this is translating the design system into a UI components library. This has been implementing with React and TypeScript and style components. This team now is acting more like a guardianship around what goes in. So all the other teams within Vodafone, like all the 20 plus, they contribute to this UI component library. And this way we practically evolve it from what the initial status is. And yeah, we try to keep on top of the new technologies. So this UI component library is now updating to the React 18 with all the new features and all that stuff. But in terms of like others contributing to it, is we encourage everyone in our teams, and they do contribute to the library, and they maintain the library in that way. But yeah, I don't know if that answers the questions, or if you have more, if you want more details, just post on other questions maybe, and happy to cover it.
Yeah, definitely. If you have any more specific questions, then...
Sorry, I just remembered. We actually spoke about the UI component library, which in our React presentation last year. It is on YouTube, and I can post probably the link in the chat. I think I have the access to that, so I can probably share that.
Yeah, definitely. And we can follow up with links to careers pages, as Bradley said, and any links that you think are relevant as well for the registrants, Anna, off the back of this too. I saw a good question for you, Luke, in the Q&A in regards to what would you say your biggest tip would be for those who are looking to become a Scrum Master at Vodafone? I've just got 5 years of experience and would love tips in order to get my next role. So picking your brain here, Luke, what are the top tips for a Scrum Master at Vodafone, mate?
Yeah, I just hit submit on answering that one, but yeah, I'll answer it as well verbally. Yeah, it's quite difficult for me to express that in words when I was typing my answer. Generally, what we look for, we think it's a given. We generally will tend to get, decent candidates who they can say all the right things, and they've seen how Scrum works, and it's no surprise if they say the right things about time boxing events and self-managing teams and all of that sort of thing. So we're looking to go a little bit deeper than that and really understand how this candidate is going to add value to our community. We've got a lot of Scrum Masters, and we've got quite a diversity of Scrum Masters. You've got some Scrum Masters who kind of major in one thing. Some are quite technical. Some are really, they're high on the empowerment and team spirit and well-being dial. So there's all sorts of different flavors to it. So it's just a case of kind of, if a candidate expresses to us their take, they're fresh, and maybe if they're quite radical and it's something novel and refreshing for us to hear in an interview, that's quite interesting. But if we feel like there's someone who could maybe fit into our community and not just be someone who's like too much like everybody else, it's like what diverse, distinct value can this person bring to the community? That tends to be something that we try to look for. So I realize that's not very helpful necessarily to a candidate who doesn't know what we've already got in place, but my advice would be just look ask yourself that question. What's your USP? What's so special about you as a Scrum Master? What do you bring that maybe is different from other Scrum Masters, and try and get that across? I hope that helps.
No, definitely helpful. Thank you so much for that, Luke. So we've got a question here for you, Andrew. Obviously, you've answered this already on the chat, but I just thought it's super relevant too. So how come the whole development team is involved in the refinement process and it's driven by BA? Can you just give us an overview of that, please?
Yep. So we want, the whole development team is involved because they're all going to be working on it. We need to show, well, number one, they're all aligned. They all do understand what is the ask, but we also want their input on how it's going to be approached. As part of that refinement process, it's very much discussing how is it technically going to be delivered, and we want the whole team to have a chance to have a say in that, whether they're senior, mid or junior level developers. They all have a voice that we want to hear. So that's why everyone's involved in that process. It's led by the BAs as the Digital Analysis Guild I'm within, that we sit on the engineering side of the process. So while we work closely with the business, we work closely with product owners, we're there to support the engineering teams and help them to succeed. And so a key part of that process is helping understand the work coming in, chasing up all the details, the requirements and things like that, and then really working closely with the development team on understanding that they have everything they need to approach it with, that it's clear, and we have taken them through it at a good level that they all understand how they're going to achieve that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrew. And now back over to you, Bradley, for some sort of recruitment related questions. So this has come from some of the pre-submitted questions we had prior to the event. I know this will probably differ depending on role, but what's the usual sort of interview process for tech candidates, for example, engineers, and how long is this process? Is there tests involved? Can you just give us an overview of that, please?
Yeah, of course. So like you said, it'll vary depending on the role, but we've done a really great job in trying to refine it to as minimal stages as possible. I know some companies have 6-7 stages, ask you to come back over weeks on end. So we've really tried to streamline that as much as possible. So within the software engineering world, typically in back end, we would have 1 2.5 hour interview. So the first half of the interview would be a coding exercise where we can test your ability within, let's say, Java. But it's also an opportunity to have an interactive session with the person attending the interview, with the interviewees. So, they don't sit in silence and watch you code and then wait till the end. They talk, they ask you to talk around what you're doing, how you're approaching it, why you're approaching it in a certain way. And then there's a small break. And then the second half is a presentation, typically around a software development lifecycle, which you've worked on previously at a previous company. Again, it can be however you like, but we ask people to complete a small high-level diagram and then talk through that. And I know in Andrew's world, in the BA world, we've introduced a user story creation exercise, again, live on the call, very interactive. And then typically all of our interviews are 1 to 2 stages. We try to not have any more than that. So within the same week, you could complete an interview process and have an offer by Friday. That's the way I like to see it. Obviously, if diaries align, but typically 1 to 2 stages, maximum an hour each, typically.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Bradley. And a question for Anna and Mankai now, obviously both within software managerial roles. What do you look for in regards to soft skills if you were hiring someone for your team? Like, what would stand out to you from a soft skill perspective, or what do you look for in an interview process if you were hiring for someone for your team? Anna, we'll start with you and then we'll go to Mankai.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one thing we really value in Vodafone is your experience from everywhere is really important, because you come up with ideas. We value everyone's opinion. So as long as you talk through what you think is best from your own experience is really important. So, that kind of communication at that level. This is really important from like the most junior, because you've got experience from like life, school, and so on, to the most senior. That's really valuable. Other soft skills, really important. Detail orientation is quite an important one. As a software engineer, you need to be to get all those details that through the code, and make sure you cover them all. But yeah, I'll probably say for me, the communication and detail orientation are probably the top one I'm usually looking into people.
Fantastic. And Mankai, do you have anything to add on that in regards to what you ideally look for if you were interviewing for someone for part of your team?
Yeah, cool. I will start with our value. So one of our value is the getting things together, getting things done together. So we specifically look into under these values, good communication, as Anna mentioned, good interpersonal skills, and the time management, as well as the teamwork. That's the key skills which aligns with our value. Thank you.
Fantastic. And I'll stick with Anna and Mankai as well. Obviously, within senior positions within Vodafone, what advice would you give to the next generation of women looking to start a career in tech? 'Cause I'm 100%, I know they'd want to hear from you both. Mankai, we'll start with you and then we'll go to Anna. What advice would you give to future generations of women looking to start a career in technology?
Yeah, that's awesome question. I would say always be open for any networking opportunities, which gives you more insight to what's happening in the technical industry, and also stay polishing your knowledge and technical skills. That's very, very important factors to progressing your career.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Mankai. And Anna?
I think I definitely agree with staying in touch and being connected. I think networking and the visibility you have is probably one of the best things to think about, because that could help you a lot in growing in your career. The other thing I would say, never be afraid to ask questions. I remember back in my junior days, it's not only probably, it's like everyone in the junior days, but I do feel like all of my colleagues and myself included, I was a bit more afraid to ask a question, just because I was like, what if my colleague knows about it and I don't know about it? They will think because I'm a woman, I shouldn't be here. That was just a misconception and something I was thinking. So definitely don't be afraid to ask questions. That's really important, because that's how you learn, that's how you grow. And don't be afraid to tell your opinion out loud. I think that's another thing I've learned through my career, is like, don't be quiet. It's really important to speak up. It's really making a difference.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Mankai and Anna. And Bradley, one for you. How does Vodafone support their employees from a benefit, holistically from a benefit, perks? Can you just give us an overview of some of the benefits and perks available while working at Vodafone?
Yeah, sure. I don't want to really say it's a benefit, but I know some companies have gone back for more days per week, but I still think the hybrid working is a great thing to have. I know, COVID was 3 years ago now, I think, and we've all been working remotely. So, our lives have changed and adapted to that. So I still think to have that flexibility is definitely a key benefit, not only for myself, but a lot of people that I work with. We have generally 28 days holiday plus bank holidays. Plus 1 day a quarter, which we call a spirit day, to focus on training and development typically. So if you have a long online course that you need to do, and I know how hard it is to take 1 hour out of your day to try and focus on it, or when you finish work, the last thing you want to be doing is, doing more work. So we have 1 day dedicated for that. No emails are sent. And then we just focus on our training and development. We have various things like private medical, dental, lots of Vodafone discounts, which is great. I know phone contracts are not cheap, so lots of discounts there, broadband discounts, and then obviously pension contributions are there as well. Pretty high level, but that's off the top of my head without having a document in front of me, Ellis. So hope that covers everything. If not, I'm happy to put some more things in the chat.
Yeah, no, definitely. Quite impressive off the top of your head as well, Bradley. So I love that. Cool. So just looking at time, so we've probably got enough time for a couple more questions. Andrew, one question for you. How would you describe the culture at Vodafone? I'm sticking it on you a bit randomly here, but how would you describe the culture?
Yeah, so It's very much, you can, yeah, you can be confident to put forward your ideas. You can find the right ways of working within your team. There is, I'd say, just thinking back to when I started at Vodafone, the real big difference I felt there was, so I started as a developer at Vodafone, and I was used to being stuck at my computer a lot, just coding on whatever work had been passed to me. And I felt a very big difference that both them being involved in all the meetings and conversations around how we're going to work together, how we're going to approach things. I got the opportunity to do a course, which I then presented back to a wider audience at Vodafone, which for me was definitely helping me go in directions I want to go, and meant I was doing things different to the day-to-day just grind of doing the same day-to-day work. So it very much, I felt like there was opportunities to really do different things. And there's a lot of different events that happen at Vodafone that are absolutely brilliant to join in with, whether it's like the sports day thing we've done in summer, or it's like team day sort of stuff, or it's celebrating events like just recently at the Diwali events celebrated at Newbury HQ and things like that. There's lots of different ways to be part of the community and feel there is that community here at Vodafone.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that with us, Andrew. So unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for today's event. But I just want to say a big thank you to Andrew, Munkai, Anna, Luke, and Bradley for joining us on the webinar. And obviously, I think around 140 participants that joined us. I want to say thank you for sharing your lunch hours with us. Just a reminder, the team at Vodafone are actively hiring at the moment. And as a follow-up, we'll provide a link to their careers page where you can find a list of open positions as well as their benefits. And if you are interested in career opportunities as well, please register via the form in the follow-up email and we'll come back to you as well. But I just want to say a big thank you to everyone again. I hope everyone has enjoyed today's event, and here's to many more in the future. Cheers, everyone.